All right, folks, welcome. Another Thursday here. It's day number 116 into 2018. Mathematically speaking, leaves us with 249 days to go in 2018. So you ask yourself, how far have you gone? Because the year seems to have been up to our knees already. This morning, the national budget between sanity and mania. A budget, whether at the state or national level, is not just an aggregation of numbers, but an expression of our values and aspirations. In our jaundiced federation, where almost everything runs against the grain of simple logic, a budget will tell you what we can't afford on the one hand, but does not prevent us from buying it on the other. Apart from running a deficit budget since 1999, getting the National Assembly to be immediate in tackling a budget passage will indulge the whole country in a lethal game of chance, what you could call the Russian roulette. This morning, I have two gentlemen to broach the subject matter with me. Mukhtar Mohammed is a choice gentleman at a time like this. He's an economist and a stockbroker. Let me greet and meet you. Welcome, Mukhtar.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Nelson says he may not necessarily be a mainstream economist, but he spends money, so he knows a bit about economics. He's also a social commentator. Nelson Ekujumi, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here.
One thing that's been lacking in our discussion over time is how to set priorities for this country in drawing up a budget. Let me start with you.
Well, we've never had gotten it right when it comes to budgetary. It's either the National Assembly is complaining about one project that was supposed to be incited on the budget that is not there, or the presidency also is talking about the benchmark of crude oil that the National Assembly have increased compared to their own. So I think, again, sometimes you complain about the presentation time of the budget. If you want it passed in the 1st of January, you should be presenting it almost at half year of the new year. And
say way back in June.
Way back in June. So my challenge with all of this is that we should operate our own unique style of budgetary. And every company, we should run Nigeria like an enterprise. Every company has its year end. My year end doesn't have to be January 1st. My year end might be June, my year end might be July, my financial year end might be August. Now, that shows that whatever I'm running, I run it from August to August. Then I present a new one that comes up in place. What are we trying to do? We are trying to do international best practice, which we are not able to meet. And then the National Assembly, in their own reason, I think, is it the 3rd or 4th National Assembly, decided to say, look, the budget can run after January for another 6 months. After that, if the budget is not that, before then the budget should be passed into law. So as it stands now, the budget of 2018, I mean 2017 budget
is still running.
It's still running. Ordinarily, that constitutionally, it should be running up to the month of June. Then by then the new budget, what the current administration is saying, look, we want to bring it closer. I want to start it want it to run from January to December. And then we'll have a balanced budget here. But sometimes when you look at the integrity, the teams of Nigeria, the way we do things, the MDs, the parastatals, the NBAs, and the way they come out with budget. And again, our budget presentation is wrong from the start. Because if you want to do a road project in Nigeria, normally the constitution directs that those routes, the drawings should be done, the environmental impact assessment, everything should be done. So when they are approving the budget, you have a company that's already on ground that would have gone through due diligence, would have made their presentation to start this budget at so time. This is the amount allocated, and goes like that. But what we see is that after the passage of the budget, then they begin to call for bidding. Then at the time the budget is running, the company is saying, look, the price that we quoted at that time is not going to be commensurate with now. So they have to be what they call extra budgetary allocation. They will now run to the National Assembly, and then that leads to a lot of abandoned projects. So Nigeria needs to come up with their own fiscal policies financial year end. This is our year end. We can begin to say, okay, if we are doing May as year end, can we move it to February? Then at a point, I'm sure we'll get it to January. But for now, I don't think that we are running a good budgeting system.
Oh, Nelson, I don't know if you've heard this. The Constitution, the ground norm, as they call it, makes provisions for the president overruling the National Assembly when it is vacillating on the idea of passing the budget.
Yes, it's very true, because, you know, like he has rightly said, the National Assembly was the one that made that law that can allow a previous year budget to run to the mid-year of the next year. But, you know, what we have on ground today is one that calls for concern, because you have a National Assembly that the budget, if they were really responsible to their responsibilities, that the budget was submitted to about November. And you remember vividly well that at a point in time, the National Assembly said the budget was missing just because the chairman of the committee on that budget had issues with the police. And you want to ask, can the budget of the whole country be in the custody of just one man when they have a committee? You expect the budget to be in the secretariat of that committee as well as with the clerk of the National Assembly, because they receive it when the president makes the presentation. But like he has rightly said, I don't think part of the problems we have with our budgetary system is that, you know, we seem to make a budget in which the need assessment, you know, might not be totally taken care of. And also the fact that a lot of times when budget is made, you don't forget that when budget is made is a proposition. It's now based on the availability.
A statement of intention.
Intention is now based on the availability of funds. If the legislature have appropriated money for a particular project, it's not left for the Ministry of Finance to release that money. And they can only release that money if they have it in their custody. Where they don't have, they have to resort to other means, you know. But like he has rightly said, there are lots of, you know, intrigues. And unfortunately, we have come to a situation today in which the budget has become a political tool in the hands of, you know, people. Rightly
or wrongly.
Definitely.
Mukhtar, over time, you've had governments, especially at the national level, tell you, look, we were able to execute the budget up to 50, 60%. If you don't execute the budget as proposed, how does it harm the economy?
It harms the economy badly. You could see, is there any ongoing project? Any major
as we sit
here now? I don't think there's any major ongoing project like has to do with infrastructural development.
So you just say, for instance, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway
is still on standstill. It's not doing. The contractors have refused to come to site. Even if the minister said they should come to site, they will make provision. You talk about the second Niger bridge. We've not heard anything, and all these are in
Lagos,
the budget.
Calabar Rail.
Lagos Calabar. No, you know, for the Lagos Calabar Rail, you see, we tend to. I believe a lot of work is going on there, because when it comes to rail, you don't seem to see it immediate. And remember, this is a partnership between Nigeria and the Chinese government. Yeah. So it's a partnership funding. There are a lot of work going there, maybe environmental impact assessment. You know, some community will be affected, so they will be paid. So I think there's a lot of work going on there, but we'll wait to see. And this, the Lagos rail project, Lagos and Kano rail project is a project that is going to last for about 4 years. So in the first year, you might not see anything meaningful. Maybe the second year, you begin to see the laying of the rigs, and then you begin to see this. So those are long-term projects that are divided into years. So that could be said, could be ongoing. But when we are talking about major projects, we are talking about infrastructural development, key infrastructural development, like power. Well, how far are we going there? What are we seeing?
And power is key here.
Yes, I stand to be corrected. I don't think there's any, since this government came into power, they've commissioned any power project, or they've added any megawatts to the national grid. I stand to be corrected.
It has added.
Okay, it has added based on the project they are doing.
Yeah, Mukhtar, the problem seems to be that of distributing what they have.
Good.
Or if you like, transmission.
Transmission is always been, so that means we've always had that before. So
generation had not always been the problem.
But I think, like he rightly pointed out, there are two things you don't play politics in. in any developed economy, and in any if you want to move from a developing economy to a developed economy, there are two things you don't play politics. You don't play politics with your security. You don't play politics with your economy. You put self-interest, because those are things, two key areas that affect everybody in the nation. Whether you are rich, whether you are poor, whether you are a businessman, whether you are a civil servant, those are two areas that affect everybody. So you must be up on your game. So, but in the same way, what we are seeing now, we are seeing a lot of politicking between the National Assembly using the budget as a tool to attack the executive, and the executive also trying to play their own game through the. So there's a lot of politicking going. And if we continue like this, we'll not have this budget passed. Before then, we were telling us that the budget should have been passed maybe sometime on Monday. The Senate president said it must be passed, but some houses, he gave them ultimatum, and all of a sudden other issues came. Their colleague was arrested, and so nobody's talking about the budget now again. So what happened? The ordinary people, but the bad thing about it is that the recurrent expenditure that does not develop the economy, that has to do with the political class, civil servant salary, is going smoothly.
Without hindrance.
Without hindrance. The capital project, which has to touch about 70 to 80% of Nigerians, are left abandoned because that has to go through the law. But recurrent expenditure, you just spent.
Okay. Nelson, the national currency in all of this is weak and keeps getting weaker. We are not doing something right here.
Well, like you rightly said, yes, the national currency will get weaker if the national currency is not at a competitive level with other currencies. And our currency can only become competitive when we are producing, when people are buying products from us. That is when our currency will have greater value. And how can it have value? Is when the National Assembly does the needful and those productive areas of the economy, begins to, pick up. But in a situation like we have now, where the National Assembly has abandoned what concerns you and I to tend to the case of one of its members who is having, a running battle with the law. Definitely, that is where we are today. But it's very, very unfortunate. I think it's an eye-opener to all of us that come 2019, we should, focus on the quality, the character and integrity of people we elect into public office, rather than those whom, for them, it is only about self.
Yeah, and self-preservation, we are told, is the first law of nature.
Definitely.
Mukhtar, the country is awash with economists, big, medium, small, and you fall into any of the category. So why do we always have problems with budgeting in this country?
Look, Nigeria has no problem when it comes to documentation. Documents.
Okay.
We have documents, but what we keep asking, are there workable documents? The economics, we always, let me give you an instance. When it came to the economic recovery growth plan that was prepared by this government, some of the input came from foreign economics, not even Nigerians' economics. They bring in their own ideas.
But why?
Well, you may have to ask the government that, because when you pay consultancy fees to most of those war-renowned economists thinking that they are going to bring, Nigeria has its peculiarities, and it's only the people that are on ground that could begin to say, this is our peculiarity, this is our challenge. Look, in as much as we will blame...
I'm fighting to believe this logic of yours, because in times past, we can give some names here.
Pius Okigbo of this world,
Pius Okigbo,
Professor Aluko.
There are so many.
They are still there.
Okonjo Iweala.
They are still there. They are not there. They are not there. But like I said, if you are not,
SP Okongo,
if you are not in the mainstream,
they
are still there. If you are not in the mainstream, what I mean the mainstream, if you don't belong to the class that are ruling at the particular time, you won't be asked to bring any input. They are still there. The Bismarck, Ruano of this world are still there.
Yeah.
We still have people like Professor Pat Itomi is still there. These are renowned professors that are known all over the world. But then, who is the current special advisor to the president on economic matters? He was not somebody that had been on ground. He was brought in from the United States to become his president. So it's...
But he's a Nigerian.
He's a Nigerian, but I'm not saying he's not competent, but I'm saying sometimes it's good when you have the people on ground that relate to the day-to-day people, that know the price of oil in the market, that know the price of pepper in the market, that know what concerns the ordinary man. Look, you may take it to blame the National Assembly, but we shouldn't just spend all blame on the National Assembly. The executive too have their own role to play. Because before now, the National Assembly came and said, look, some NDEs are not coming to defend their project. It has to take the intervention of the president to giving them matching order to come to the National Assembly to defend their project. And when you ask some of the NDEs, they say when you go there, they try to postpone them. And again, we're already having a challenge. Because what I see in governance in Nigeria, in the political class governance of Nigeria, whatever we are able to make in the 4 years that I'm going to be in power, let's spend it all. Let's not keep it for the future generation. The government, as it stands now, put the benchmark of oil at $45 per barrel. At that time, because at the time this budget was going to be presented, the price of oil was about $50, and they put it at $45. Say, okay, we'll be able to save $5. Now the price of crude has gone as high as $73.
Yeah.
And now the National Assembly is proposing $58 per barrel.
Revised budget.
Revised budget.
But it's in keeping with international standards, right? To revise your budget.
Look, it's not keeping with international standard because as far as I'm concerned, every country has its own benchmark. Some countries like United Arab Emirates, especially OPEC producing company, put the benchmark, and then the extra allocation that will come, if you put your benchmark at $45, then we'll have extra of about $20-something. Those dollars are now put into what they call the sovereign wealth fund. And that sovereign wealth fund is used to develop other key areas that will serve as a buffer when there is the shock in terms of the crude oil price comes down.
Yeah.
What we have here, we have two illegality going on. We have the sovereign wealth fund, which the government is not putting anything in there, and we have the excess crude account, which should have turned into the sovereign wealth fund, but we are not going in there.
Mukhtar, there's no doubt you are taking us back to the classroom. Let me share this with Nelson. So we are reading a lot of politics in politicking.
Very true. Because you can see, he made mention of the fact that the National Assembly claimed that some MDs have not been turning up and, that he took the intervention of the president.
And we talk about budget padding and so on. And
yes, but, I wouldn't want to subscribe to that. I want to see that as a blackmail. Because I expect...
No, say it properly.
I said...
What is the blackmail element?
The blackmail is when the outcry from the populace was getting louder, the National Assembly had to come up with that notice that, look, some MDs are not, bringing their presentations. Yeah. But I want to ask, when did they ask those MDs to bring their presentations? This was a budget that was submitted in November. And I know that the legislature is not only about sitting in the plenary. They have other responsibilities that they carry out. And part of that responsibilities is the different committees on various sectors of the economy. So for some of us, we are not convinced because we want to believe that when the minister made the presentation, before now, there must have been, engagements going on between the executive and the legislature, such that where there are gray areas, they'll be able to resolve it. You recollect vividly what happened with the Minister for Power, where the man said, we made a presentation of X before you, and when you approve Z. Meanwhile, the responsibility of the executive is to present the budget. The responsibility of the legislature is to
oversight.
To oversight. So the legislator in this case are even usurping the functions of the executive, because their function is not to prepare the estimate. Their function is to scrutinize where you want them to take out. You refer back to the executive that brought it, that, Mr. Minister, please, this particular item, we want you to come and explain, and if we are not convinced, you have to take it out yourself. It is when they have had this harmonious engagement, the final outcome will be, acceptable to both ends. But we have repeatedly seen a situation whereby when the executive presents a budget of, say, 20 naira before the legislature at the end of the day go as far as approving a budget of 35 naira. And you want to ask, who presented the extra 15 naira to you? So that is where the area of politicking comes in.
And which brings me to the Apex Bank. and fiscal policies and so on. You talk about fiscal stability. Where does the central bank come in here?
Look, give it to the central bank. They've done so well. Where we are economically now is because of the ingenuity of the French CBN. They have done good monetary policies. You see, monetary policies, what the CBN can do, try to curb inflation, try to put exchange rate stability, and then the other one that has to do with physical quality, that has to do with microeconomic stability, has to do with the physical policy. That has to come from the government.
I want you to also address the man at the bus stop.
Yes,
so pretend you are a bus stop economist.
Yeah.
You're speaking the language of the man on the street.
Okay, what I'm saying is that the monetary policy, that has to do with exchange rate, that has to do with inflation coming down, then that is what CBN, Apex Bank is meant to do. Now, the government itself is meant to grow the economy, provide the enabling environment, provide employment through good fiscal policy, in connection with what the monetary policy will have done. But what we've seen for the past 3 years is that the monetary policy has been working tirelessly to make sure there is stability, because when they came in, the price of crude went down, our reserve went down, then we had to fight the battle of our life with the stability of our currency, which they were able to stabilize at 360. And for over a year now, and they used that by creating an window called export and investment window, where foreign investors were now bringing in their money because there was no two-way exchange system. So we'll be able to correct that. Now, to add to that is that the government itself has to do the fiscal policy. The fiscal policy the government have to do is to come up with ideas on how to grow the economy, or they put measures in place, good infrastructure, power, then begin to create employment for the citizens. So by the time you do that, now you now match both together. That is when you begin to see interest rate will begin to come down.
Yeah, okay.
Interest rate will begin to tickle down, because at that time the cost of borrowing will come down, so the interest rate will tickle down. But now we are trying to force interest rate to come down based on political...
Even when you are not producing?
Look, we'll say this thing about producing. It's like a man. I keep saying it, like a man. Your salary, your mainstream of income, your consistent salary is what your office or where you work will pay you. Now, it's not left for you to use that salary to diversify, to begin to create other investment windows, so that in case maybe you are retired, in case all of a sudden you have to leave that place, you have something to live on. Our crude is our mainstream of income. Now, what are we really using it to diversify?
Unavoidably?
No, it's not. It's you see, when it comes,
it's avoidable.
It's avoidable, but that's where I'm going. It's avoidable. But how is it avoidable? It's by using it as a strong point to create other avenues. That's what every nation do. You look at your strong means of, before now, it used to be agriculture. We abandoned it when we saw oil. Now, we can still go back to agriculture. But we still need resources to create the environment, because you don't expect farmers to be producing. I mean, they have to have storage facility without power.
That's it. That's it.
So you have to go through using what you are earning now, which is stable, to begin to go back to revitalize the agricultural sector.
Okay.
What we do in Nigeria is, when the price of crude comes down, every government in power talks of, look, it is time for us to diversify. Every minister, solid mineral, everybody comes.
Or if you like, it is time for a national prayer.
Or whatever. Okay. Well, yeah. So then, when the price of crude goes up, like we have seen now, do you know there's no more noise about diversification? All we see now, the commissioners of finance are always ready. At the thought, they calculate it. They tell you how much NNPC have not remitted. Yes. Nobody's being nobody's being ingenious now. Yeah. Nobody's being ingenious now. Nobody's trying to, with all due respect, the only state that seems to be saying, look, we don't depend so much on the federal money, seems to be Lagos State, and seems to be through taxation. Now, what are we saying? The only place the government have diversified its economy, as far as I'm concerned, is the federal level, is in the area of increasing their take-home in terms of taxable Nigerians. They are doing a lot on that, and saying most Nigerians should pay tax. Even
when we know that millions still evade paying tax.
I think we are getting somewhere. We don't used to. They presented a report about 3 months what they earn with. Sometimes we don't even get that in a year. So they are getting there. That's the only diversification that we are seeing result. Okay. And that diversification is still indigenous diversification. We want what, like he said, we want what we can produce outside. Then we are beginning to earn foreign currency.
Yeah. Nelson, it pays at a time like this to tell the 35-year-old who wants to rule the country at the highest level to recall that in the Gowon years through the Murtala Mohammed years and into the Shagari years, our currency, the Naira, used to be a medium of exchange. In fact, you didn't need to depend on the dollar if you were traveling out.
Yes, very true.
So at what point did we become mad?
Well, I think the point at which we became mad was maybe when we discovered oil and we saw that, it was free money and, the revenue from oil, made us, feel on top of the world that we refuse to face our reality. But before I go further, I want to disagree with him because I've seen diversification in the area of agriculture. I've seen serious, huge investment by the government of the day.
Sorry, let me take a call. The viewer has called in from Ikeja, Lagos. Afolabi is here. Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
I greet you.
Good morning to the gentleman there.
Good morning.
To the gentleman.
I think I need to correct the impression the economist was making. It is half truth to say it is only the FIRS that has increased or has been diversified or diversification area. As far as I'm concerned, as of 2 years ago, I was not into farming. Now I can tell you that I have 20 acres of land that I used to farm, just on the expressway here, because I see the government of the day that is serious, unlike what we used to have before, which is just the gesticulating of diversification. Now it is evident. Now the prices are not as the prices of agricultural products are not as competitive as imported products, but we have started somewhere. If we continue in this trend, like what I used to tell people, the situation that Nigeria is in now is a very, very difficult situation. That if we continue in this development level and we keep increasing it, we'll get better. I don't have anything against the past government, except the fact that they did not do anything in that respect. We're not supposed to be starting now. We are supposed to be moving. That's why you see Lagos State ahead of everybody, because there's a continuity. What the government is doing now, Lagos State started in 1999. And back to the budget issue, we all know, except we want to deceive ourselves, we pretend as if we don't know that money grieves hands when they want to pass the budget in the National Assembly and the Executive. I think that is what is lacking in this situation and is dragging.
No. Hold on. My brother Afolabi, money exchanging hands before you pass the budget, is it a global phenomenon? Is it a global phenomenon?
It's not a global phenomenon. It's something that is wrong. That is why I said that. You see, when in a situation in this life, when you are doing something that is wrong for over a long period of time,
it becomes a way of life.
So when you're not doing the right thing, that right thing now becomes, it now looks like the wrong thing.
Okay.
So that's the situation
I got you. Now. Yeah,
you can see that the last caller flowed from my thoughts. Like I said, the government has really diversified in the area of agriculture. As I sit down here, I'm also a farmer, which I never dreamt of. Have been opportuned to access some trainings through the government agricultural programs, And like he has rightly said, a lot of us now, young Nigerians now, are aspiring farmers. It is now left for the government to ensure that those who have signified interest, the
environment becomes enabling enough. Okay. We must take this breather, but please be in sync with our thoughts here. The national budget between sanity and mania. We'll be back. Okay then, welcome back. The national budget, especially for 2018, appears to be asphyxiating because the National Assembly is vacillating in the area of approving or passing the budget. And so many things, the fallout are so many. I have two gentlemen, just to remind you, Nelson Ekujimi is here, and Mukhtar Mohammed is an economist and a commentator. Mukhtar, it appears true that if you lined up all the economists in this country, including you, your humble self, you won't agree on so many things.
That's what makes economic unique, and that's what, even in the developed economy, you don't have to agree on everything. But the point of the matter is that there are some important things that you have to agree in economic terms. And those important things have to do with your exchange regime, how you are going to cope inflation, and then how you are going to promote growth in your economy. And those are just simple basics. Because to promote growth in your economy, you need to begin to produce. To enhance those growth in your economy after production, you need to begin to export.
All right. And at the ordinary level of economics, we are told about the factors of production. In this case, power. We are not doing anything about that.
Well, like rightly pointed out when I was saying, I think what we're doing, we got it all wrong from the start when it comes to the power privatization. We gave it to political bigwigs. We didn't give it to the real people that would have come in and had the financial muscles and have the technicality to turn around our power sector. We didn't do it like we did in the telecommunication sector, where we gave it, we invited all the best in the world to come in here. We didn't do that in our power sector. That is why we're having those challenges now. And at that time, I remember there was a time GE, General Electric, was about coming in, and other good powers all over the world. And the government said, no, you need to join hands with our own because of national security. So that when we didn't get it right there, it's not difficult because... And
telecoms had nothing to do with national security?
So we didn't get it right there.
So talk about choices.
It's choices. We didn't get it right there. And so that's why we keep on struggling. We still struggling, the disco, the jinkos, the darts, all our grammar. The bottom line is that they don't have the capital to begin to embark upon the new to set up new transmission station, and they don't have the technical ability. And it became worse when the cost of exchange rate went up from 150 to even 360. So the cost of importation of these products are now very expensive for them.
Mukhtar and Nelson, I take you to Olusosun. Olusosun is this refuse dump here, very close to us here. I remember in the Bola Tinubu years as governor here, he brought in Enron. Enron was going to exploit that dump there, amongst other things, to generate electricity. Nelson, he was wrestled to the ground.
Well, you know, it was due to politics, but like, you know, I think the government is doing quite a lot, but we need to encourage them, because to provide uninterrupted power for our people does not need rocket science. All you need to do is to decentralize this power. I see no reason why your destiny for power in Alakpereye should be tied to the man in Ogbomosho just because we are all on the national grid. The moment the national grid collapses, everybody's in darkness. Why don't we have division of, you know, these power generating plants, such that the plants generating power for Alakpere will be different from the one generating for Ikoyi?
Have you heard that the transmission lines we have across this, crisscrossing the landscape, cannot take more than 5,000 megawatts?
But there are ways to improve on it. We can, you know,
okay then. Okorafor is waiting patiently in Abia. I greet you, comrade. Welcome.
Good morning.
Yeah, I greet you.
Good morning, our guest in the studio.
Good morning.
When we talk about this, our budget, Nigerian budget is only accessible on pages of paper. A common man will ask, what is happening with our 2017 budget? Look at some of those items listed in 2017, like one of our guests was talking about. You see, like our Hotia and Shukudu, look at our universities today. There was a budget which we were told that the money we're giving to our universities to build, at least renovate the hostels and lecture rooms. If you see, go back then, the hostels are still like that. Now, very soon, I'll be talking about 2018 budget. Garri in the market today is between 200 and 250 a mutu. Rice, a mudu is between 450 and 500. Our problem in Nigeria is nothing but implementations. When we talk about that is our major problem. Now, our guest, one of the guests, is the content of the saying about diversification. Not all states should diversify to agriculture. If you come to Abia State, they have their major industry, like all these shoes, bags, clothes. At least if the government and the people will give at least all those boys at least 80%, maybe soft loans. You see, they will all those that's very sure, but you don't need to go outside to buy clothes. And at the end of the what happened, at least they have solved some problem in that sense. But today, when we say diversification and our budget, people will very agriculture. Is that the real agri? Is that our investment? What is happening?
Thank you. Mukhtar, quickly. Lagos is the largest market without any debate.
Yes.
But we can take you to his Abia State, specifically to Aba, which should have been the Japan of Nigeria. Yeah. It was cleverly abandoned.
Mm-hmm. You see, I've had these debates with my people and then agriculture's economic. I say, look, in any venture, if you want to diversify in agriculture or want to diversify in manufacturing, you need to look at your competitive advantage. You don't just do agriculture, we do all foods, animal husbandry, fishery. You need to look at your competitive advantage. Where will we have that advantage? If you talk about agriculture, Ghana, they do agriculture. But if you talk Ghana agricultural product, cocoa, that is their competitive advantage. That's what they export to the world. Where is our competitive advantage? Where are we going to lie all our strength in?
Besides corruption.
Besides corruption. So we are not doing that. We are just doing agriculture.
I'm not saying it's an advantage.
Agriculture. If you go to the U.S., like the last caller rightly pointed out, you go to the U.S., when you talk about Alaska, the state of Alaska, they begin to tell you about production, their fishing power, Alaska. When you go to the north of the south of the south of the U.S., they begin to talk about the agricultural husbandry and stuff.
Yeah.
In Nigeria, we need to look at that competitive advantage. What happened to the cocoa plant?
For instance, cassava, because I have Femi waiting. Cassava, for instance, will give you kaolin, starch, fufu, gari, and so on and so on. Femi, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, good.
I'm tempted to ask, how's your own economy?
Hello?
Yeah, welcome. How is your own economy? Welcome.
We are seeing that we concentrate on it. And it's supposed the development of the country starts from the lower level. When you look at state government, when we are talking of the economy of the country, we talk about the federal government, which is supposed to start from the local level down to up. The state governors, they are always depending on going to Abuja. They are not thinking of how do I economy of my state. And when you don't produce money, you cannot spend money. They concentrate on just because you look at somebody to just go and build a statue of somebody of 500 million from the state government money. 500 million can do a lot of things in Aba. Building its own economy. So we always, when we are talking, you see some governors saying that the federal government is not handling the economy very well. What about your state? You are not creating wealth in the state. You are not making people to be productive in the state. You are all depending on the federal government.
Thank you, Femi. Thank you, Femi. It's more like repeating grooves, gentlemen. Old Eastern region, Mukhtar Nelson, used to account for the highest production of palm oil, in the planet.
Yes.
On the planet. We are importing from Malaysia. That's a crying shame.
Not only a shame that the seed, the first seedling of palm oil, when the Malaysian came here to have our seed of palm oil, that's what they used to develop the Malaysian economy.
Yeah. And we are importing from them.
We are now importing from them.
It's an absurdity. But, you know, like you have rightly said, the diversification of the economy, even the local industries in Aba and so on, from our own investigation are getting, you know, encouragement from the government. Because you recollect only recently, I think it was the Nigerian army that signed a contract with a shoe manufacturing company in Aba that will be supplying boots to the Nigerian army.
I can only expect that that company would put on the sole of the shoe, made in Nigeria.
Definitely.
Not made in Italy.
Yes, because we have all that, we can make use of to stand with our peers.
So how do you cure the appetite for foreign goods?
Well, it is now a thing of orientating our minds as a people that, look, the time has come for us to look inward. That is why a lot of us were in sync with the government when, on assuming office, she banned the importation of about 41 items because the government wanted the local economy to grow. And, you even see the diversification of the economy in the quality of the local rice that is available now, like the partnership between Lagos.
But smugglers are saying no.
No, you can't. There's no way in the world where they don't smuggle.
Okay, so you need them.
Yeah.
But I don't think Yakub in Dokpemu needs them. Welcome.
Hello.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, good morning.
I greet you.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Kujini and staff.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. You see, Citizen Jones, for me, I want to talk about this project implementation. I can tell you with sense of responsibility that when National Assembly is about to pass the budget, that is the only time they thought they can make much money for themselves. This budget of 2018 was presented to them by November. Up to now, the budget has not been passed. What we heard from them is that the MDAs, they are not coming to defend their budget. Yeah, now that you're coming to tell Nigerians that the MDA are not coming to defend their budget. When the budget was presented to you, why can't you cry out? But I can tell you, Nigerian citizens will miss a very good opportunity one time ago. The opportunity is that when the representative from Kano State, in person of Jubril Mumi, telling Nigerians that this time when we are trying to pass the budget, they are passing this budget and then they suspend this guy. Nigerians, including the civil society organization that Ekudimi was represented. Everybody just go silent. Instead of us to follow it up, make sure that they pass this budget as when due. We silent on it, and then the guy forced to beg there before they can call him back. I can tell you this. The Nigerian government has been diversified this economic stand of agriculture. As a friend, as I'm talking to you, he's a businessman, and then he's also going to into agriculture as well. Thanks and God bless.
Many thanks. Budget implementation vis-a-vis a bloated budget.
Well, we've heard those things stated before by this. Even if you talk to the civil servant, they will say money approved is not money release.
Yes.
So they will tell you, "Plan there is their slogan." So we've not gotten there yet. If you even
so somebody's lying.
Well, I don't know who is lying now, because sometimes even when you look at the budget, if you have a budget of about, like the last budget we have about how many trillion, but at the time the Minister of Finance was giving
4 trillion.
At the time the Minister of Finance was giving, he said they've not been able to access, they've not been able to access funds. They only have been able to do about 2 trillion, maybe 1 point something trillion. So sometimes you could look at it when it comes to how much are we earning? And that is why the government now is doing what I call good borrowing, because they are borrowing to get other key infrastructure working. So, and now again, but with the way we are borrowing again now, it's becoming a norm to borrow. And again, we are borrowing because we are borrowing at a very cheap rate. But we are not even borrowing. We are borrowing right, but how are we helping our own indigenous economy to grow? This is the first government that is borrowing and say, I'm borrowing to pay the indigenous contractors that we are owing money so that the economy can grow. So it's a good thing we are doing. But what we are saying is, in line of this, we are shouting about 2018 budget. Nigerians should ask, the 2017 budget that has been passed, how far have we gone with it? It's still running. So we shouldn't be shouting, making, you see, is politics out of politics? Is the one must say that, oh, this will favor me now, and let me say that 2017 budget is still running. That is the question we should be asking.
How far has it gone?
How far has it gone?
Yeah.
We shouldn't be so much particular about the 2018 budget that we know we might not even get up to 60% to 70%. Okay, this one that is running, how many percent implementation have we gotten?
Yeah, yeah.
So let's 2018, 2017, we are not in a stalemate yet. We are not in where the government cannot spend money. What I'm telling you now is that government keeps spending money in recurrent expenditure. It's still ongoing. It's still ongoing. Salaries are being paid, allowances are being paid, travels are being made. When it comes, where it's being stuck now, if you look it all over, it's the capital project.
Okay, okay. All right, Ayo is in Osun State. Welcome, Ayo. How are you?
Good morning, Uncle Jones.
I greet you.
I greet your guest. Yeah, good morning to your guest. Yeah.
Good morning.
Uncle Jones, see, we have a problem here in our country. We are in May now. We've not passed the 2018 budget. Where will implementation start?
Well, Ayo, I'm told that deficit budgeting is not necessarily bad.
No, what I am saying is, I am not saying deficit budget is bad. But what I am saying is, budget has not been passed now. In May. When will we start implementation of 2018 budget? Before you know it now, we are in November. And this is a year which is eve of an election. And when we are approaching election, I must tell you, nothing will be done. It is electioneering that will take over everything. Now, the Senate now abandoned their primary assignment yesterday to go and visit their colleague who is facing a criminal charges in the hospital. See, are we serious as people?
Is only being a suspect.
A laughing stock in the international community.
Okay.
They are not serious as the people who are even serious at all.
Thank you. Take it from there. We are seen not to be a serious set of people.
But you see...
excluding me.
No, all of us are culpable. Because the people that, are the aim of our affairs today didn't get there by the mere mention of their names. They were voted for by Nigerians. And unfortunately, what they are doing with the budget is like they don't have the idea of time. Because the implementation of the budget has to encounter so many encumbrances. Things like weather. We are going to enter the rainy season soon. And during the rainy season, it's only a foolish man that will embark on building roads or putting up a building. It is only a foolish man that will mix cement and granite and what have you when it's raining, because at the end of the day, it will become a waste. So these are factors that one expects our representatives at in the legislature to recognize that, that they should make hay while the sun shines on behalf of the Nigerian people, because they are there not for their own interests, but to make laws for the good governance of the country.
Mukhtar, let's go to your state. Mine is Akwa Ibom. I don't know about yours. Edo State. We're talking about states and their commitment to the national budget. We talk about internally generated revenue, from state to state to state, and then the federal. So many states are not helping.
Yes, so many states are not helping, but some states are actually doing better now. Ogun State coming out with the internally generated revenue is doing well. Edo State also is doing well in that area now. With the new governor, is trying to...
You are not campaigning?
No, I'm not campaigning for him.
Okay.
No, I'm not campaigning for him.
The Edo election is not now.
He's doing well when it comes to that. And I think we should begin to think of how, like one of the callers said, sometimes we think about infrastructural development. Mostly in the budget, we don't think about social development. Social development has to do with healthcare. Social development has to do with good schools. Because you can have all the infrastructure and you don't have the skilled people to manage it.
Yeah. Okay.
So we are not looking at that even in our budget implementation. In Nigerian current budget, education sector is not even having any. It's supposed to have the last chunk. Health sector. Anybody that is sick, once you are rich, now it's becoming a norm. You don't even have to be very rich. Averagely rich people take themselves. If they cannot go to America, they go to Dubai.
Okay.
And even sometimes you see all this, even all Dubai healthcare, they are advertising in Nigerian stations.
I hear including their dogs. Please ignore that. Olubumi is here in Lagos. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Yeah, I greet you. Welcome.
Good morning.
Yeah.
I would like to comment on the comment made by the economist on City.
Which
about
of the economists?
the interest rate in Nigeria. I want you to enlighten me on the correlation between the MPR ratio and the domestic interest rate.
Okay. All right.
Because if the government has consistently maintained a MPR ratio, the commercial banks can never reduce their interest rate to the real sector. Thank you.
He has answered himself.
Okay.
Because for the past 2 years now, the MPR interest rate has remained the same. So nothing will change in the commercial bank because the commercial banks there. That's what I was saying in the first place. All the CBN is doing is just monetary policies. So monetary policy is just to create stability in the system. So they did not that what we had before.
So when commercial banks declare surplus at the end of any fiscal year, it's a plus?
Look, commercial banks are there like me and you. We are into business. They are there to make profits. So there are still people that will come to collect those loans for them that have to run their business.
From a comatose environment like this?
Well, unfortunately, the banks are like this. All over the world, they operate like this. When the sun is shining, they come to you, they give you umbrella, and when the rain is falling, they collect the umbrella for you for the rain to beat you very well. So that has been their custom. So there's nothing new about it. Like I said before, until we start to, that growth, that real growth, through physical policy, will force exchange rate to the rate to come down. So you can't be, that's what I'm saying, we can't be doing only monetary policy and I expect the economy to grow at the rate we want it to grow. The SMEs, the young Nigerian entrepreneurs, they are not being given, if you go to the bank to borrow more loan as an entrepreneur SME, within a year or two, your business will die because you cannot pay the kind of rate they're giving, about 30 to 35%. Even the government itself have come to realize that if they continue to borrow, even from the capital market through bond and treasury bill, they will be in so much debt and deficit. That's why they are now going outside to borrow for 2%.
Mukhtar, a reverend gentleman has joined us. Reverend Dominic is here in Lagos. Welcome, Rev.
Good morning, St. John's.
I greet you.
And good morning, you are panelists.
Good morning.
Thank you, sir.
Let me talk about my state, Imo State. I can't hear you. The network is bad. Let me go on and talk.
No, go on now.
Let me talk about my state, Imo State.
Do.
Imo State can meet Nigerian local palm oil consumption. The reason is that by 1980, there's a governor who came with this vision. We call it Adapam. And Adapam was made to produce palm oil in commercial quantity. But every governor that comes to Imo State has ignored it. Sometime last year, we concerned Imo Light come together and approach the governor to borrow money and fund Adapam. The story is different, Sister John.
Okay. So it goes from governor to governor.
It's not only Imo State, even Cross River State, growing up in Cross River State then, I used to remember the place like Okunde, Obubura.
Okay.
They used to produce, they have to have this local palm oil producing company. They were Okunde, Ogoja.
Palm oil mill.
Palm oil mill.
Milling,
then my mother was a trader. He would take that, they would put it through all this 911 vehicle and transport it to Benin to sell. That was what was happening. But all of a sudden, everything went comatose because cheap money came.
Yeah.
Oil money is cheap money. It's even worse for Nigeria. When the price of crude goes up, it becomes worse for us because we are not producing locally. So that means now that I see the government will say, look, we are still subsidizing fuel. So it's not even good for us until we diversify and until we begin to, even in the area of petroleum product, all we are waiting for, all the government is waiting for, all most Nigerians are waiting for is for Dangote refinery to come.
You are closing your thoughts now. You're closing your thoughts.
My closing thought is that let's diversify the economy. Let's take politics out of the economy. Let's look for those that can really make our economy working. Nigeria has all the potential. We have all it takes to be among the superpower in terms of economy in the world.
My closing thought is that, you know, we've talked about the economy as well as the budget. I think there's need for us to diversify even our minds, because you realize you was talking about the oil plant and the oil palm companies. Most of the states in the southwest and the east had palm oil producing companies. But who ran them down? It is the same Nigerians ourselves. So I think there's need for us to do a diversification of our mind, such that we'll be able to have trust in ourselves and realize that, you know, the economy can only get better if we, the people, are determined to make things work.
And nobody should tell me that the groundnut pyramids cannot return. They can. They can. Hide and skin can return, and so on and so on. Let me thank Nelson Ekujimi for coming.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
No less so, Mukhtar Mohammed. Many thanks.
Thank you.
Well, for me, it's crazy that in a country like ours, the national government will tell you what not to buy, but ends up not discouraging you from buying them. We are at that crossroad. We must cross this bridge. The choice is ours. I'm done for today. There's another program tomorrow morning. Join us bright and early. I'm Citizen Jones Hussein. Bye-bye now.